First, we should embrace our shared identity. When Randall Lawley was moderator of CBF North Carolina in the mid-90s, he said, there is a Christian way to be human, a Christian way to be human, a Baptist way to be Christian, a CBF way to be Baptist, and a North Carolina way to be CBF. Randall, do you remember saying that? Did I quote you correctly? All right. Well, leaving off that last part, we all stand together as Fellowship Baptist, whether or not our organizations have CBF in the name. We share a common approach to our humanity, our Christian faith, and our Baptistness. We come from the same spiritual and theological stock. There are differences among us, to be sure, but they are relatively minor in the grand scheme of things. And we are much more like one another than we are like anybody else in the world. Jim Collins says that great companies first get great people on the bus, then figure out where to drive the bus. There is no other collection of people I want on my bus than the people in this room and the people like you outside of this room. We are family. We have a common understanding of life and faith, and we can do even greater things together if we emphasize our shared history and identity and values and principles, our worldview, our way of understanding life and faith. That must be the foundation of our collaboration. Secondly, we must focus on shared mission. And a central component of that mission must be to equip and serve congregations. In our Baptist view of the world and the church, congregations are the front lines of ministry. And though, yes, we believe firmly that God is at work outside the church, and we want to join God in God's work outside the church, congregations are the building blocks of our fellowship and our ministry. And though we don't use the D word to describe ourselves, George Bullard speaks a prophetic word we all need to hear. And just as an aside, it's not in my manuscript. George and I have been on opposite sides of some things in the past, and I don't take everything he says at face value, but he is a sharp, astute observer of Christian life in America, and I consider him a partner and a colleague these days. Listen to what George says. Denominations should always be created by and for the benefit of congregations as they seek to fulfill the Great Commission in the spirit of the Great Commandment. Real denominations serve congregations. At any point, a denomination forgets that congregations are its primary building blocks. It changes from being a movement to an institution that primarily serves itself. It begins dying a little bit each year. This can happen to a 20-year-old denomination as easily as to a 200-year-old denomination. Third, we must commit ourselves to much more effective management, holding ourselves and one another accountable to clear, definable outcomes that will make a transforming difference in the lives of congregations and ultimately the world. Peter Drucker says that leadership is doing things right. Let me say that again. Peter Drucker says leadership is doing right things. Management is doing things right. My observation, I know it's true for me, is that ministers, churches, and religious agencies are far better at leadership than we are at management. We can cast the vision, tell the compelling story, and point people in the right direction. We're good at those things, but we often fall short when it comes to translating those dreams into actions. We often talk a good talk, but we have difficulty taking all of the concrete steps necessary to walk the walk. Sometimes we even put down the managers, ridiculing them as bean counters and pencil pushers, accusing them of squelching our creativity and tying our hands and weighing us down. But the right kind of management that can maximize our limited resources, both personnel and financial, management that can break down dreams into concrete action steps with reasonable timelines, budget requirements, and measurable outcomes is absolutely necessary if we're going to engage in effective collaboration as a missional movement. When that concert in Chapel Hill, that magnificent collaboration came to an end, the audience broke into thunderous applause and gave the performers a long, hearty standing ovation. But the most interesting thing to me was to watch those 300 students on the stage, not only soaking in the adoration of the audience, but smiling, laughing, even beaming. And then the students started applauding. They applauded the conductor. They applauded the soloist. They applauded us, the audience. They applauded themselves. These kids had done something magnificent. They were justifiably proud. They had worked hard together to make this whole evening possible, and they'd had fun in the process. My dream for the fellowship movement as we begin composing the next 20 years is that we will enjoy a magnificent collaboration, that we will bring joy to God and to the people God calls us to serve, and that even though the work will be hard, it'll be fun, and we'll know the overflowing joy of using our unique gifts and capacities to accomplish our particular portion of fulfilling God's great dream.